everyone. What a dance we had, and getting back to a more concrete panel discussion is not going to be easy. And the women makeover did a super job. I think that was one of the best panel discussions we've had in the last 2 days. So, you know, this subject, life after college, crossing the chasm. And I'm beginning to wonder if there is any life after college. You know. I don't know what we will discuss here because we've been a last-minute change. We've had some absenteeism. We've got some new people on the panel, but we'll have a good conversation. But I don't know how the conversation will go, but I know one thing for sure, that all you guys, we're talking about the students here, that 1 year, 2 years, 10 or 20 years from now, if there is one thing that will come to your mind is this, that wahi hostel, wahi dhaba, wahi Amit Chand yaad aata hai. जब भी मैं अकेला होता हूँ, मुझे भी IT याद आता है. So, that's for you guys. So, you know, that's how it is. The passion of BIT Mesra, as you saw in the last 2 days, is one of Zunoon, Dillagi, that Josh, which is very innately inside us, being analytical, going for it, leveraging our skills to the best possible result. That's what we are. Keep in mind that, okay? उसपे एक शेर याद आता है before I come to you guys is तुम देख रहे हो सूरज की ठिकानों तक या तुम सोच रहे हो सूरज की ठिकानों तक या बादलों की उड़ानों तक मेरी तो निगाहें हैं सूरज की ठिकानों तक. That's how you should live your life is. Go for it, you can do it. There are only two outcomes of anything you do in life. Either you win or you learn. There is nothing else. So just go for it. Okay? I will start off with my friend from the railways, Pradeep Kumar. We are the same batch, 1976 and 1980. And the one word that you always come up with, apart from the moxie that you used yesterday, is the spark, the voltage. So if you had to talk to these students out here and talk about, you know, Chasm, life after college, what would be your 2 cents to them? Your thoughts on this issue?
Hello, am I audible? Yes. Okay. The spark or the voltage, which is innate and inside you, is primarily the base of leadership. So it gives you the impetus and the momentum, I'll use it, mass into velocity, momentum to cross that chasm. So you are in a rhythm to cross that smoothly. You don't have hiccups. And therefore, the second point which I'll be making to all of you youngsters, that you have to have some sort of a motivated sense of passion towards life that brings you that additional delta V or voltage inside yourself to push you up, cross any valley or chasm or gap, whatever you have. You will just pass that hurdle. And secondly, you must parallelly increase your core competencies. Once you are in final year, you must try to develop some inner core competency, maybe in one of the subjects, maybe in one of the arts faculties, whatever you develop. So these two will lead you and definitely make you to obviate so many things which you have, which you don't want to do. It will, the energy cycle, it will keep you engaged into the environment of positivity. And therefore you will not go into the don't do domain. That's the point which I wanted to make to all of you.
Thank you, Pradeep. We'll get back to you. There is, before I come to you, there are just one liner I had to say about you know, you guys are the millennials and the largest stakeholder today in the world and the country. And the way you perceive success and the way you perceive life and the future is very different. It's being redefined. The way we thought of success earlier and the way it's being defined today is a very, very different paradigm shift. So remember one thing, that the way I look at things, that for the millennials and the young people today, success is defined by the way you invest in experiences. People like to travel. People like to do very extreme sports, and they want to build startups. So the definition of success has shifted from the normal to this. The second thing is, you are living in a world where ownership has been redefined. I mean, you don't own a car, you want to Uber it, you want to Airbnb it. You know that any asset that you buy will have a life cycle that will deteriorate and the asset class will go down. So you are looking at a very different definition of life as you see. So keep in mind all these things. And the third thing I feel is, for the millennial, is that you know, you're looking for independence. You're looking for financial and geographical independence, and you're looking at flexible life. So keep in mind while deciding what you want to do and not do. So that was just a point before I came to you. So now it's Priyaranjan. He's from Bangalore, and you can give a one-line introduction of yourself. But one thing I remember from our conversation during lunch today, and I met him after probably the first time, and we were having something, and he said, I'm from mechanical engineering, but I'm a software product guy today. So, and then we had a good laugh about engineering and how it prepares you to do whatever. So, Priyaranjan, your time, whatever you say about to these young people.
Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Priyaranjan Belwarrier, pretty long name. Short name is PR, and I'm known as PR. In the college, Belwarrier short name was Baul, so among my batchmates, I'm known as Baul. A mechanical engineer from 1981 batch. Never touched a computer, as I was telling him, till the time I passed out the engineering. So, good question, is there a life after the campus? And every time I come back to one of these campus events, that same question comes and haunts me. That campus life was probably the best life. It reminds me of our days of the campus life. But yes, one has to face that reality. Very quickly, campus life prepares you for facing the life after campus, right? All of us, whether it is BIT Mesra or from any other engineering college, it prepares us to face the world and take the challenges. And the moment you come out, you have to get into the new world, and where some of the few things that are required is your core competency. You have to recognize what is your core competency, and when you're trying to do that, you understand that what campus taught you and what is really required is probably less than a few %, right? So you have to learn a lot of new things and build new core competency. One of the necessary core competency is also being a very disciplined technical person, right? And once you get into the real life, you have to continuously build your core competency and prove yourself every day. And as Niraj said, either you succeed or you learn, right? Nothing was developed in a day. And towards the final years, once you get more serious that now I'm going to get out of the college and get into a job, and that's a time when I realized that everyone tends to get a bit serious about these core competencies so that they can then face the life. So my one word would be, you are prepared, strive, and you will succeed. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Priyaranjan. And Nikhilesh, you've traveled all the way from California, and Nikhilesh is my batch 1976, 1980, and he's been in the US for almost, what, 30 years now? And you've guided a lot of people, mentored a lot of people about young students trying to pick up a career. And you know the billion-dollar question they have in mind is, should they go for work or should they join a branded company? You know, and there's always a peer pressure and family pressure at that point that you should go for a more branded company, notwithstanding what could be the other option they have. And the other thing that typically gets very unaddressed in many institutions are the soft skills that you must have and prepare yourself for the next life. So if you could share your thoughts on that.
Thanks, Niraj. So as Niraj said, I was mechanical engineering, graduating in 80. We were the last 5 years, 76, 75 to 80, I was there. And, you know, I was talking to some of the students in the lobby in the last 2 days, and it's been a lovely event. Thanks for that. And see, when I graduated in 1980, as he said, that's why we'll take all our do's and don'ts with a little pinch of salt. He was a different generation, okay? A public sector job was considered a very good thing. And I sat for the entrance exam and I got into BHEL, Hyderabad. But, you know, everybody said such a great job and all, but for the first 1.5 years, it was so frustrating for me. I mean, all the facilities were very good, and really there was nothing to complain, but I was just getting so frustrated. It's not that it was different from the college atmosphere. Obviously, every job, you know, and especially in the corporate world, there's a certain amount of process and procedure, and they're also basically risk-averse. And, you know, you can't just jump about the way you would in a college. Even if you have a good idea, there's a way of presenting it and getting it implemented, and you have to work through the system. Whether you use soft skills or your actual brilliance to get that idea across, it cannot just be that I said it kind of thing, okay? So I was getting extremely frustrated, and I actually left the job. And everybody said, oh, you know, you shouldn't leave a public sector job and things like that. So sometimes those things happen. The thing that I still see some folks struggling, and it's an important thing, is everybody says, you know, what do you call, find your bliss, do what you like,
follow your dream.
Follow your dreams. All that is fine, but sometimes, even at the time you graduate, you really don't know what you want. Okay, and it's not very clear either, because you have an abundance of choices as folks have today. Okay, that time it was a lot more restricted. Or just because it's a little bit confusing, okay? I mean, if you ask me what do I want from a career point of view, I love to play music, let's say, but do you want me to, I'm not talking of that career, surely, okay? So then what do you want? And especially with this new trend of everybody going into IT, it sort of seems to make, why should I study mechanical engineering if I'm not going to use it? And
Correct.
I'm going to do coding on, you know, Ruby on Rails or something, okay? So those kind of things have to be addressed, and I don't know how well to address it, but always have, as somebody mentioned in another panel discussion, have an ecosystem around you with your friends, some mentors like some of us. Okay, we may not know the latest and greatest going on in your minds, but you know, some principles hold across the decades. And always have them run the ideas by you. Don't just take a decision because you feel like it. Say, it's perfectly all right to say, I'm thinking of changing my profession or doing this or something, but run it by your friends, your teachers, your this thing, and treat your parents as just one input, okay? That's all I
Thanks, Nikhilesh. We'll get back to you with more questions later. And we have Abhishek Sinha, co-founder. He's the right person to talk about, since we've talked about soft skills, we've talked about core competency, we talked about choosing a career versus just a job, and not getting under peer pressure. There is an aspect of life, it's in the room, it's been there, it is the focus of this Bitosa Global Conclave 4, and that is entrepreneurship. We've been a lot of subjects, and you've been an entrepreneur. So I'm going to ask you a little difficult question, but it's in your flow and it's in your blood. Let me take a contrarian perspective. You know, it's in fashion nowadays to talk about building a startup. It's a fashion. You know, you hear very young people come out and sitting in Starbucks and Chayos and various corners of the street and sit down, and 3 years later you ask them if they're still building something. And unfortunately, many times I find that they're not really doing anything worthwhile. It's probably some sort of escape from reality at times that you're doing a build-up. Don't get me wrong, I'm for entrepreneurship, but I'm trying to bring the caveat in this, that it's not a fashion statement. Entrepreneurship is not a fashion statement to say that, oh, I'm doing a build-up, I'm building a startup. And it's a lifetime. It's a 24/7 lifetime thing. It's in your mind. You dream, you breathe, you sleep, you eat, you do everything through that gateway that is called entrepreneurship. So since you've been an entrepreneur, and while we all advocate entrepreneurship, to all these young people who are about to graduate or just have graduated, what would be your thoughts around entrepreneurship in any slice and dice perspective you want to take?
Thank you so much, sir, for having me here.
Is that working? Is that working? बहुत डांस किया आपने जरा से इसको.
I hope I'm audible. So, sir, thank you so much for having me here, and thanks for asking this question. I think every day when I look back, I have worked for just 2 years after BIT, and so I've been an entrepreneur for the last 15 years. Every day I look back, every day I reflect on what has, what transpired over all of these years. I think every day, without fail, I thank God that I'm an entrepreneur, because it's the closest to the emotion of having masti. And that's what I so much enjoy being an entrepreneur, because that is the emotion I have carried forward from BIT. BIT was all about masti, and I spent a lot of time trying to make this connection, that why was BIT so full of masti, and why is entrepreneurship so full of masti? And the common connect is that, BIT is masti because we get to spend time with friends. Imagine the students who put together this band. It is so much of creative collaboration. And in that creative collaboration, you just lose your sense of time. And it is very, it's a pursuit to perfection, and in a very self-motivating manner. कोई आपको बोल नहीं रहा है कि अरे आप अच्छा गाइए. आपकी खुद की इच्छा होती है कि next time I have to improve, or this is what I will do to improve this. And we have had this, we have collaborated to organize events, design posters, so many things. And whenever it was creative collaboration, because padhai karna was full of stress. So hum log sabko we used to find bahana not to attend the class but indulge in all of this. And entrepreneurship is an amazing canvas where you can just draw whatever you want. Now, having said that, I 2-3 things I have realized. One is that when we work in a professional setup, we tend not to be creative because we want to be more predictable. We are pushed to be more of the same. And that is what takes away from us from masti, creativity, to a lot of stress. And so at least because it's my company and I run it, and I feel that I'm a custodian of this culture, I make sure I just push people. And whenever they fail, because anything which you're doing it for the first time, the probability of failure is very high. But the excitement of doing something creative, trying out something new, something different, is just unmatched. So I have experienced masti, and I've had not that, what I'm preaching is I'm able to practice always. But this is something which I have truly enjoyed as entrepreneur. And the second aspect is wealth creation. I think this is a platform which, when I just about turned 30, I was given an 8-digit check. It was so transformative, it was so empowering. And so entrepreneurship is the only way you can get yourself an 8-digit or a 10-digit check. at an early age. There's no other way you can possibly achieve that. So one last point I'd like to make. You know, my company recently, we are in financial services, and in the month of December, we crossed this barrier of 1,000 crore rupees of transactions in one single month. And so an ex-colleague of mine called me and she said that, you know, Abhishek, I'm reminded of the first 100 crore. And I asked her that, you know, I reminded her that we actually crossed 100 crore 3 times. So every time we touched 100, something happened, we crashed, we again, so the first time we crossed 100 was late 2010, the second time we crossed 100 was late 2012, the third time we crossed 100 was late 2014. And so, you know, it was as if ki dhobi ka pachhad tha every time.
Yeah.
It was no less than that.
Thank you.
And so those moments are not very easy to live. So it is about, you know, tenacity, persistence and determination. But it is the best canvas I could have got, and I am so thankful to God every single day.
There you go. There you go. So thank you, Abhishek. So,
sorry for taking
you spoke from your heart. Everyone can tell that you spoke from your heart and you lived every minute of what you have said. And just to remind you of that 100 crore and the 1,000 crore, I may be wrong a little bit on the data, but for Infosys to reach the first $1 billion, it took them 27 years, but for the next billion, they took 18 months. So this is how it happens, you build. And there is one little point I would like to add before I get back to the second round of thoughts that my panelists have is, you know, at some level, I think entrepreneurship is not just about a business entrepreneurship. There is a work professional entrepreneurship as well. There are people who are in the corporate world or working for someone else, and they're not equity owners of that enterprise, but they're true entrepreneurs. They look at stuff and they change it. They want to make a better system out of that. They push the limits. They own up that task as if it is their own. And I think at some level, that is also a very nascent but a true form of entrepreneurship done without ownership in equity terms. So really advocate this concept that, as you rightly said, entrepreneurship is the way, but you may not have to only go the business ownership way. Be an entrepreneur, look for innovations, push to change things. You don't have to accept everything that is going on. Question things, but don't have negative, just for the heck of it, a discussion that I want to change and I am different. There are a lot of people like that who like to be very different by just the fact that they have taken a different position than what the position of the rest of the world is. Not necessarily that they have a logic to take that position, but they take it because they believe, oh, I have taken this position, I'm now the... No, it's not like that. So look at that stuff. Thank you, Abhishek. I really think that you lived every minute of it. And as I said, entrepreneurship is about the life 24/7, and that musty, that kick that you get in life every day when you get up, or every call that you get, or every email that you get, or every text that you get is full of fun. Sometimes not so good, but hey, you own up to it and you push it and you build it. So any questions that you have at any time, please interrupt and ask us questions, because I don't know what the timer is. I don't know when I started. I don't know what time we have, but we'll wrap it up as soon as we can, because I know we had a great dance session and we have much to do during dinner and maybe another round of dance and drinks. Any questions you have, please, you can ask at any time.
Sir, yeah. I'm
yes, sir.
Yeah. So my question is to Abhishek, sir.
Yes.
Actually, I would disagree somewhere. I mean, whatever you said, with due respect. You said there is must in entrepreneurship, since we are working with startups and I used to meet so many entrepreneurs, industrialists and all. So what happened, जो भी students say, they look entrepreneurship from outside. We see entrepreneurs from outside, right? So we see 100 crores, we see their offices, Shandar offices and all. But what it took to be there, we cannot see. And I'm sure you cannot explain in words कि क्या लगा है उसको बनाने में. So I think the message what you are giving to the students, to us is, बहुत मस्ती होती है, तुम कॉलेज में जैसे लाइफ जीते हो, entrepreneurship में वैसी लाइफ होती है. we are also small entrepreneurs before you, and we are working with startups, but we feel that initially you need to give your sweat, your blood. We are very alone inside initially, और आप तक पहुंचने वास्ते बहुत मेहनत लगती है, and that should be communicated to the students. अगर वो communicate होगा तभी वो startup को fashion नहीं बनाएंगे. अभी कल सर एक चीज ऐड करूँ, कल तनय सर ने बोला था हमारे टाइम में होती थी बेरोजगारी, अब होता है स्टार्टअप. सर मैं बताऊं बेरोजगारी को ही सिनोनिम में स्टार्टअप, राइट? सो अगर 100% लोग निकल,
मैं शायद बोलने में मैं शायद ठीक से इस चीज को कम्युनिकेट नहीं कर पाया.
That should be communicated. That's what I'm saying. Thank you.
पर मैं एंटरप्रेन्योर की लाइफस्टाइल इज फुल ऑफ मस्ती ये नहीं कह रहा था. मैं कह रहा था देखिए, और कल तनय और प्रियंका का जो प्रेजेंटेशन था, वन कैप्शन विच आई क्लियरली रिमेंबर इज थिंक डिफरेंट आई थिंक. एंड yes,
you should have your own rules.
So you know, all I'm saying is ki remind yourself when you were a kid and when you indulged in painting, okay, or music or dance.
True.
Remind yourself of those days, and you will remember that अगर आप पेंटिंग बना रहे थे तो उसमें आप खो जाते थे. अगर आपको उससे बहुत लगाव था, प्रेम था, तो आप उसमें खो जाते थे. इन दैट क्रिएटिव इंडल्जेंस, नोबडी हैड टू टेल यू कि वो घर ठीक से बनाओ.
बिल्कुल सही.
ठीक है, आप खुद ही अगली ड्राइंग में और अच्छा करते थे. तो व्हेन यू आर क्रिएटिव, यू नो, द इमोशन इज ऑफ हैविंग फन. आप एकदम मस्त हैं, आप उस एक जोन में हैं जिसमें आपको रियलिटी से कोई मतलब नहीं है. ठीक है, हम लोग कॉलेज में वी नेवर टुक लाइफ सीरियसली, राइट? माई एफर्ट इज नॉट टू टेक लाइफ सीरियसली इवन नाउ. I can't disclose what I do to do that, but my friends are aware. You know, my parents have declared me financially irresponsible, but I just push myself to get that, to be in that zone of being in masti. So it is not about lifestyle. And yes, it takes a lot to build a company. You know, they have shared their story. There are multiple stories. Echo से पहले एक और कंपनी थी 6D. It was started on credit cards and personal loans. Because मेरे पास 20,000 रुपए के अलावा और कुछ भी नहीं था. मेरे पेरेंट्स नहीं पैसा दे रहे थे, कुछ भी नहीं था. So it takes a lot. But the underlying emotion has to be taking life less seriously. You can't take life seriously and being creative.
Thank you. I think that was a good point. No,
Thank you,
you made a very good point. You know, the band that was playing here right now, we enjoyed the band. They were singing super, but you have to understand how many thousands of hours they did practice to get to the performance that they did. So I get your point very clearly that there's a lot behind than what you just see at the
And we
glamour.
cannot explain in words.
Exactly.
That's also important.
Any other questions?
One question from me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, my question is to the gentleman who's in IRCTC. The notion, yes sir, to you, Indian Railways. So the notion of joining a government job is ki you do nothing. You go there, you sit, enjoy, you get salary. And but when you join organization which is huge like Indian Railways, you go there, and if you want to make changes after college, how do you make that change?
Hello. First of all, I'll answer you, young man, that I have worked in Tata Steel. I was in Delhi and Nicobar Police Services, and then I joined Railways. I was in Tata Steel for almost 5 years. And I tell you, the amount of grill which we go through in Railways and in government job is much more serious, tangible, with proper accountability and responsibility. Yes, you have your space, you have your freedom. So, particularly the central government jobs, I will not vouch for the state government jobs, and at a fairly high level, there is a clear accountability, and we have to own up the responsibility. It's not baby's cake. That's number one. I was much more comfortable in Tata Steel vis-a-vis with railways and even with little service which I had as Group B officer in Dani Police. So government is more demanding, government is more intense, government is too vast, and you have to work. We don't sign anywhere, but our movements are known to the person and we are being watched. I mean, there is some invisible accountability, or even if we leave half an hour for our office, we are accountable. That's the first point. So it's not masti. Second thing is that, which Niraj has rightly said, that entrepreneur means udyami. I'm listening since yesterday, entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is startup, fine. He had just hinted, and that was my point to make. And my take on that is that every day you do some change in systems. Every day you do some improvement in systems, in laws, regulations, rules, agreements, processes, and you cut down any bureaucratic delay. That is also an udyam, which I had been, I can, without any credit attached to me, I can say that in my processes, wherever I have led as executive director for Railtail, or even leading a team for construction activities, we cut down on the delays. We have our processes in place so that the public funding is not misutilized and it is on the proper channel.
I understand. In fact, what he answered very correctly, a lot depends on the person and the attitude where you're working. So that, any other question? There's a show there. What does this mean? That we're done?
Time's up. Hello.
Yeah. Time's up, okay. So last question? Yes. Okay.
Yeah. The question raised from the audience and what Mr. Pradeep Kumar answered, I will just supplement it with my experience in the railways. Well, many of us here do not know how stringent is Indian Railways for demanding quality. They have the best engineers in the country, and they have a section called RDSO who accepts a product after placement of order. And every order placed from Indian Railways, at the bottom it is written on behalf of President of India. Many do not know, but I just share with all of you here because I have passed and I am working for railways in services.
Thank you.
And the quality they ask, the rigorous stages it has to pass, it's awesome. And one of the best fleet of engineers are there in this RDSO section, which Mr. Pradeep Kumar did not touch upon, but it's a painful affair for vendors to cross and make it across. Am I right, sir?
Thank you. So,
excuse me. Can I make one suggestion for the startups? I'd like to make
all of you, I mean, that's what we used to say, and I think we should have thanked it.
is the mic working?
Not audible.
The mic's not working.
With your permission,
Yeah, let's.
रुक जाना नहीं तुम कभी हार के. I mean, to cross that chasm, or everywhere you will have valleys, and so रुक जाना नहीं तुम कहीं हार के, साथी न कारवां है ये तेरा इंतहा है, रुक जाना नहीं तुम कहीं हार के. Thank you.
Can we take a last question? We are done.
It's not a question, just a suggestion. A suggestion. One suggestion for the startups. Like when people talk about a startup and you ask them, what are you doing? Then they would, tell you so many things. But what I would suggest to the startups is that look into what is happening at the moment for any, I'll give an example about these flowers. A florist was engaged to put these flowers. Somebody could come and give a suggestion that after your function is over, I will pay you this much money and take away the flowers. And these flowers can be sent back to the market. So a totally different way of thinking onto the existing system would be a startup.
That's a good point. So thank you so much. Thank you, panelists, for giving your time. And I don't want to be, we had a great session. And we have some other functions, I believe, dinner, cocktails and something. Last two lines for all the young people. एक शेर है तुम लोगों के लिए कि जब वसूलों पे आँच आए तो टकराना ज़रूरी है. वसूलों पे जब आँच आए तो टकराना ज़रूरी है. अगर तो जिंदा हो तो जिंदा नजर आना ज़रूरी है. So, go for it.